Hey everyone, welcome to November's subscription box. We have a new face. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. I'm Danny. I'm the head glowstone ring maker over at Patrick Adair Designs, and I'm just going to be helping out with the subscription box this month.
Yes, so Danny is an expert glowstone ring maker. At this point, he has absolutely made more glowstone rings in his career than I have, which is kind of crazy to say because I've made, I feel like, thousands of glowstone rings. So pretty wild. Danny knows his stuff. The idea here is we're going to have him help out with the channel. That way we can put out more content besides just the monthly subscription boxes. So let us know some feedback down in the comments below. But without further ado, let's just get back to what we normally do, which is the subscription box. And let's go ahead and unbox it, see what we've got.
All right, so here we've got everything. So first off, we've got our 2 extra mixing vials, and then we have our fancy box.
Very nice.
All right, so in this month's box, we're doing it on black ceramic, so you'll have 1 ring blank. We have this red glow powder, and then an uncolored red glow powder as well, a crimson red opal, garnet, and then we have 2 different red color pigments, crimson and rusty red.
Perfect. Okay, so a little bit of explanation behind all the different materials and why there's so many reds and all of that. Let's just get into it. So obviously, like always, we've got the extra mixing vials. That's pretty straightforward. And then the 2 different reds, we just wanted to give you guys options. You can kind of pick the more rusty, more of the orangey red, which does kind of match and go with the opal quite well in our opinions. But you've also got the crimson, so you've got different options to play with. You can use both of these. You can mix them together, get different patterns. It's nice to use 2 different colors. It makes things look a lot more natural. Or you can just use 1. So we just always like to give you guys options. That's the reason behind that. Opal, very straightforward. Looks great. Only 1 option of opal. Great. The garnet also looks really nice. It's slightly transparent, so it's going to add some nice depth to the ring. We love that. Black ceramic, lightweight, scratch resistant, super durable. Awesome material. The glow powder, this is just straightforward. This is red. It glows red, and it looks really good at night. Do I have a glow light here? I do. It's really bright in the studio, but if I cut my hands, you can see that glowing a nice red. Here is the neon red glow, and you can notice it's red during the daytime as well. It comes to us from the manufacturer like this. The crystals in here are just naturally red, so you don't need pigment. So that gives you a benefit. It glows brighter because you don't have to add pigment to it. Because when you add pigment to the uncolored red stuff, it's going to detract from that brightness. So if you like the daytime color that this has, as well as the glow color, go ahead and use this because it's going to give you a brighter overall glow. But there's some caveats. So the glow color of it is a little less red. It's a little more orangey. So just some pros and cons to consider with all of materials. That's just how it goes with everything when it comes to ring making. So we give you guys the options. We educate you on the differences, and we let you guys make the choice to make the rings how you guys want to make them. Anyways, that was pretty long-winded. Sorry to go over that in so much detail, but let's go ahead and get started on the ring making, Danny.
Perfect, yeah, we'll go ahead and jump right in.
So our first step today is just going to be prepping some of our opals. With this ring, we really wanted to just make sure it had a nice depth to it and was really jam-packed with opal and garnet. So I'm starting off by just crushing some of that crimson red opal, and now I'm mixing the pigment, and I'm actually going to use both of our color pigment, rusty red and some of the crimson red as well. Alright, here I'm just going to be putting some electrical tape on the mandrel, just so that we can make sure that the ring blank doesn't crack as we're putting it on the mandrel. Next, we're just going to be filling up the ring with a base layer of the pigment. So to do that, we're just doing a quick layer of the super thin CA adhesive, and then just as much of the color pigment as you can put in there, in a nice thin layer though. Then I'm going to be putting in some of that crushed opal. This is just to add a little bit of a guide for later on when we add a lot of the opal. And we're going to be putting it in there with a little bit more super thin and then spraying it with some accelerator to really lock it in place. Now I'm prepping the garnet. I'm just making sure to crush it up into a little bit smaller pieces We want it to be mostly red, the crimson red opal. We want this ring to be really jam-packed with that cool opal, and then have a couple spots with that garnet in there to give it just a nice depth. It just adds a really cool effect when you can have a lot of the opal and every once in a while kind of see deep into the ring. I'm using the medium adhesive, the CA adhesive, just to really be able to control where I'm putting all of the opal. So right now we're just trying to jam as much of it into the inlay as possible. So I'm using that opal that I'd already put in there as kind of a guide so that I don't put too much glue down at the same time. Since we already have some accelerator on there, if we add too much glue at the same time, it'll cure too fast to inlay. Now we're just going with our Dremel to take everything back down level with the top of the ring blank. With this step, I'm just being careful not to go too hard as to crack the mandrel or to crack the ring blank, but we're taking it all the way down, so we're not worried too much about scratching the ring since the ceramic is super scratch resistant, but we are still being careful. As you can see now, I'm kind of drying it off, and I'm going through with a razor to just take out all the little air bubbles. We want to make sure that we get them all removed so that we can fill them in with some of our super thin adhesive, just to make sure that the ring has a really nice clean look and there's no weird white air bubbles. We just want it to all be red and look really nice and see-through in those spots that don't have any opal. Now I'm taking my Dremel and just kind of taking off that excess super thin adhesive. When I get that back down level with the blank, I'm just going to start using all the sandpapers and do a rough hand sand, starting off with 220 and working my way up to the 1200 grit sandpaper, as you can see here. And I like to use a lot of water when I'm doing this, just to make sure the ring stays nice and clean. None of the stuff I'm sanding off gets stuck between the sandpaper and the ring, causing grooves to form. So I'm just making sure to clean off the ring every couple seconds. And it helps keep my hands from burning. I make a lot of these rings, so I just don't want to end up with a lot of burns and blisters on my fingers from getting too hot. Next, we're going to use our step 2 Astro Dust polish. It just helps give the ring a nice all-in-one finish, gives it a nice shine. And don't be afraid to use a lot of this stuff. It just makes the ring look really nice. Alright, and there we go. There she is. She's looking really nice. So as you can see, there's a lot of the crimson red opal, and every once in a while you'll see a nice little spot of the garnet, just really adding a nice little contrast, nice depth to our ring. When Patrick and I were kind of in the design process, we just wanted to make sure it had a nice red color, but was really nice and deep.